So good evening. You're also welcome this evening. This virtual Witches Walk ceremony is in its second year now, and it was born out of the in-person Witches Walk held every year in Glastonbury around Cerridwen. And it's our opportunity tonight as an international group, because we are now dotted around the globe, the Cerridwen kin. It's our opportunity to come together and honour and remember the witches, those accused of witchcraft in the historical witch trials. And we also acknowledge that persecution still exists in the world today. This is not just an historical concern. So last year we remembered through the naming of names, those men and women who were tried and executed on our own lands. So there were many names from many different places. And of course, we know that many names have gone unrecorded over time, or else the records have been lost or destroyed, perhaps deliberately. So with that in mind, we're taking a slightly different approach this year. In our songs, in our prayers and ritual, we're looking at the archetypes of the witch, the roles and the jobs in life that often put people in the line of accusation: the herbalists, the midwives, the seers, the crone, the independent women of means. To acknowledge these aspects, and also as, I think, a rebel act of sorts, to show that these archetypes and aspects have not disappeared. They are still with us today. What those men and women stood for are still with us today. Now, of course, these aspects are not exhaustive. There are many, many more. And it's also worth remembering that to be accused as a witch, you did not even have to do anything. Anyone could suffer this fate. But tonight we stand at the threshold. We draw the veil back. We look towards the daylight gate. We are holding our red threads of connection. We are holding our memories. We are remembering. We are remembering. Blessed be.
Thank you, Cerridwen, for showing us on the path of our ancestors in justice, anger, but also strength, patience, faith, and unconditional love. Thank you, Cerridwen, for teaching us to walk freely and safely, fighting for what we love and we are passionate about. Thank you, Cerridwen, because when we raise our voices, we are heard by others who wake up and join us to continue remembering those who thanked you before. Thank you, Dark Mother. By the earth, the element in which our ancestors found plants that made them healers, minerals that gave them strength, animals as allies and companions, the earth that is the body of the goddess and that gave them a place to hide and protect themselves. By the air, the element with which our ancestors conjured the name of our Dark Mother, which gave them communication with the realms and subtle bodies, the air that is the breath of the goddess and which gave them the knowledge to call them wise women and men until their last breath. By the water, the element used for our ancestors to create medicine, the sacred water that is the blood of the goddess, in which our ancestors found purification, and for all the tears they cry along the way. By the fire, the element in which our ancestors found the passion to live, the fire that is the spirit of the goddess, in which many of our ancestors found the strength to die. By the air, the fire and the water, the circle is cast. The circle is cast. The circle is cast. Blessed be.
And now we will have a short so I would like you first to take a nice deep breath. And help to let go of all of the busyness of the day, all of the things that you've been rushing around doing. Let go of all of that and be present here and now. And I would like you to just breathe deeply and then feeling that cord of connection in your heart going down your body, down through your legs, through your feet, going all the way down into the earth, going all the way down through the crystal caves and the rocks, through history, going all the way down through the molten lava, till it reaches the heart of the goddess, where her beautiful, pure heart of love beats, and wrap your cord of connection around her heart as she welcomes you in. And then on the in-breath, bring that beautiful, loving energy back up, bringing her love all the way back up through all the layers, bringing it all up, bringing it up, back to you, through your body and back to your heart, filling your heart with the love of the earth, the love of the goddess. And then sending another cord of connection going up through your throat, through your crown, and out into the sky, out past the stars, out into space, going up further and faster until you reach your own mother star that shines just for you. And then wrapping your beautiful thread around her star as she welcomes you in. And then drawing down that beautiful starry love, drawing it back down through all of space, drawing it all the way back down until it fills your heart, coming down through your body, filling your heart with her love, until you are held between the earth and the stars, grounded and centered in the love of the goddess, that divine alchemy filling your heart and expanding outwards, sending her love out into the world. Blessed be.
And now, in your mind's eye, please turn with me to the west, where we welcome Cerridwen of the earth, our beautiful, beautiful Mother Earth. She who holds us, nurtures us, nourishes us. She who holds our bones when we have died and have gone back into the earth, our mother, to decay, to be born again. Feel that earth above you now. Feel the gentleness, the warmth, like arms holding you. At this time of Samhain, when the darkness falls, we remember our ancestors of blood and bone, those who came before us, those we can remember. And we thank them for our presence here in this world, for the life that we lead, for every breath that we take. Cerridwen of earth is our mother of the healing crystals. She provides us with all that we need. And we ask now that she provides the healing, takes away the pain, the suffering that we can feel vibrating through our bodies as we are reconnecting with the sisters and brothers who fell to the cruelty and uncaring hands of those who accused them for profit, for greed, for fear. Cerridwen, we breathe your healing energy into our bodies. Hail and welcome, Cerridwen of earth. Blessed be.
Please turn with me in your mind's eye to the north. Croeso, Cerridwen of air, Mam Ysbrydoleth. You move through the land as soft and silently as beating wings. We hear your voice echoing across snow-covered mountains, in the rustle of the leaves, and the cry of the owl in the stillness of night. For you are the peace and silence, the space between our breath. Let us pay attention to the whispers of those who've walked this path before us, our ancestors, the women and men who spoke their truth, the healers, the herbalists, the seers and the doulas. Let us honour them by speaking our truth and carrying out your work. Cerridwen, your breath is our inspiration. Our words are our spells. We give gratitude for the freedom to use our voices in honour of you and for the good of all existences. Cerridwen, we breathe your cool, crisp energy in with gratitude. Hail and welcome, Cerridwen, goddess of air. We bring you into our centre and into our hearts. Blessed be.
Turn with me in your mind's eye to the east. Croeso, Cerridwen Adan, mighty mother of witches, keeper of the cauldron's fires, transforming the fires of hate through the ages to fires of passion, strength, and inner knowing. You have been with us through the years of the burnings, and you are with us still, flaming our magical fires, blessing our lineages, our spell works and weavings, ever present, ever burning, watching and waiting for us to rise again, like phoenixes from the flames. We gather and we remember those who have come before and those who are yet to come. And we breathe your loving energy in. Hail and welcome, Cerridwen, flame of the witches. Blessed be.
Turn with me in your mind's eye to the south. Croeso, Cerridwen of water. Lady of Lake Bala, the place where you hold us in your magic, where we dive into the depths of your mysteries and discover the treasures hidden within ourselves. We ask you to accept us into the sacred waters of your cauldron, where we heal and transform our ancestral wounds in your love. Give us the strength at this time to feel into the flow of our emotions, letting go and releasing the suffering of those that have gone before us. We breathe in your healing energy with gratitude. Hail and welcome, Cerridwen of water. Blessed be.
And now please turn with me to the center and we welcome Cerridwen, Dark Mother. Croissant, Cerridwen, great goddess of death and rebirth. You take our hand and guide us in the mysteries of your deep cauldron. And you show us our deepest shadows, mysteries of magic. In this night, when we remember and honor our past sisters and brothers who were tortured and killed, also in your name, were killed because they took care about others with your herbal tea. Were tortured because simply they were themselves. We feel your presence and your energy with them and with them who were our ancestors, sisters and brothers of past time, but always near with us today, nowadays. And we feel your presence, great goddess Cerridwen, and we feel that presence with us who remember the sacrifice for the future, this umbrella. We ask Cerridwen to guide us in this ceremony and to guide our ancestors, our sisters, our brothers into the unknown, the underworld. And we never forget, we never forget, we never forget. We breathe your deepening energy in with gratitude. Hail and welcome, Cerridwen, great goddess of death and rebirth, mistress of magic and mystery. Blessed be.
Sister, mother, daughter, wife, bias, intolerance, hatred, strife, religion and politics ended your life. Neighbours pointing the finger with glee, with the kirk and the brothers conspiring all three, watchers and walkers collecting their fee, protected by laws and judiciary. Grandmother, auntie, cousin, niece, quarrelsome dames breaching the peace, silenced forever, no chance of release. Servants and mistresses up at the hall, brides and beggars and burgesses, all women afraid to speak out or stand tall, for scolds bridals or sackcloth or worse fates befall. Sister, mother, daughter, wife, scandalous, slanderous gossip was rife. Freedom stands on the edge of a knife. the stranger arriving afraid and alone, seeking shelter, a widow, some say a crone, shunned and suspected, feared as unknown, locked up and freezing, imprisoned in stone. Grandmother, auntie, cousin, niece, the monstrous regiment on the increase, all God-fearing men must cause it to cease. Tortured and broken, a slippery slope to confessions extracted when they couldn't cope, robbed of all dignity, left without hope, knowing their story would end with the rope. Sister, mother, daughter, wife, charmer, healer, ale or midwife, women deprived of their natural life. The shadow of dark times hangs over us still, the fear of attracting malicious ill will by daring to dream our hopes to fulfill, by speaking our minds or showing our skill. Her, she, you, me, healing the wounds of the past, to be free, together creating true community. Blessed be.
Thank you, Gail. And now we reach the point in our ceremony where we're going to honour and remember those different aspects, some of which Gail mentioned in her poem. And it'll become clear as we go along. But for each aspect, there are going to be two representatives, one from the past and one from the present. And each of us has chosen our own way to represent our aspect, our chosen aspect, through story, personal memory, and in some cases, the job or role that we do in life. So this is a collection of many different voices and styles, and deliberately so, we want to reflect the variety of humanity that is in our circle. Many of these past representations are set in the time of the historic witch trials. But as you will see, underpinning all of this, at the end is a deeper magic, an older magic, the magic of the Druid. And of course, below that is our root. Below that is Cerridwen. Blessed be.
Through the mist of time, we remember you, sisters and brothers, herbalists, healers, wise one of the past. May your wisdom heal and soothe the wounds imprinted in our ancestral memories to continue your legacy with love. I knew the hurt. I used them to cure. I used them to help, like my mother before me, and my grandmother before her. We used to live outside a small village. The village people were poor, as we were, all working so hard and struggling to eat, feed their families. And when illnesses and sickness came, they used to turn to us. My mother was a healer. She knew the plant.
what they were useful for, and how to use them properly. She used to take me with her as a child to woods, meadows, on crooked country paths, in open fields and along streams and ponds, to reach the hedges full of life, to gather the abundance we could find in the wilderness. We used to sing to the plants, you know. They listen, and if you pay attention, you can hear their answers. They speak to their leaves, to their flowers. You can hear their songs in their cones, in their bark, in their stems. We knew when together, how and what. Looking at the moon in the sky and listening to the changes in the land. When children got ill, or women wanted to ensure themselves a good pregnancy, or to end an unwanted one. When people were sick, aching, and bruised, they turned to us. We prepared our ointments, wines, and flowers. We sang our songs to them to enhance their power. We sang while applying our ointment to the pain. Because if you see suffering and you know how to help, it is your duty to help. We couldn't save everyone, but we did our best with what we knew. But then, ideas from the priest started to spread. The villagers started to look with suspicion to us, to people like us, the one who knew the earth. The songs we used to hear started to be seen as evil incantations to make people do our biddings. How can such nonsense enter in their head? Our gathering herbs in the woods became sign of illicit activity birthed by evil will. The ability to cure or kill of many plants became sure sign of our merit. And we became bearers of that omen. Still, people needed us if we weren't able to hear, though it started to be our fault. One night a child died. There was nothing we could do to save him. They came with torches, screaming, "Witches, you killed him!" We ran away in terror. We were forced to escape. And things got tough. People like us was forced to endure accusations, trials, death. We were forced to silence. But we couldn't let the wisdom of our land die. We taught in secret to our children. We hope for the future. Because we could still hear the trees' voices, and they kept on whispering us, "Don't let our songs die." I stand at the daylight gate, with my wisdom and knowledge, and my red thread is joined.
Hello, I am Edwina Hodkin. I'm a modern day medical herbalist. I'm a second spiral priestess of Cerridwen and a hedge witch. I've been a herbalist for about 12 and a half years. I have a first class honours degree from the University of Central Lancashire and I'm a member of the National Institute of Medical Herbalists. I see patients in consultation in my clinic, do lots of herb walks, do lots of foraging, run herb classes in my area and women's groups taking women through that menopausal transition. There are a lot of ways of being a herbalist, from people working solely with tinctures in white coats in clinic to herbalists that are very, very grassroots and out there with the communities, making medicines, working with anti-fracking camps, which is something I've done myself, and homeless clinics, as well as community groups. So why I brought you here to film this is to show you some of the herb beds that I've been planting. I am a great believer, especially in these post-COVID times, of helping people to reconnect to the land and to the medicines and to do that healing. So come and have a look and see what I've been planting here. So I've got some herb beds over here and just here, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But the area in which I've got these herb beds is quite important because this is the Birds Country Park in Bury, and probably about 30-40 years ago this was a massive mill complex, and you can see if you look here at the tower just in the background, and which is now a very much loved country park in our area, and is an example of regeneration, encouraging people to get back to connect to the land and be in a really sort of industrial regeneration place. So come look at these herb beds that I've got, and I'll just show you what I've planted here. I've got some lovely valerian. You can see how this is these were only planted early this year. See how this has flourished, and this is a nice herb for bringing calm. And I've got some motherwort here, another relaxing nervine herb. I've got rhodiola underneath this valerian. Look at this valerian here. I mean, this has really sort of like decided to take over the beds. And I have this big theory that the medicines that we need flourish around us, and I'm wondering with all this valerian how much people here need nerve support. I've got wood betony and skullcap at the back, and a nice load of vervain. During this summer this absolutely flourished, and it was full of bees and beautiful flowers, and it was nice to see a local woman tending it and making sure that things were tied back and trimmed and looked after and weeded. And then another local woman did the slate signs here, as you can see. And I've got another herb bed just in the corner. So what's exciting for me is that I'm going to be given some more herb beds, because people have been coming here all summer and they've been getting interested in the plants and showing the children and going home and looking up the names of the plants. And in a very subtle way, these herbs that have come in this industrial reclamation site are starting to bring healing and connection. So what's really exciting for me as a herbalist is that, like many other herbalists, we are looking towards the future, and in these post-COVID times looking towards reconnecting people and bringing that healing back to communities. And a great way of doing that is the herbs. And so next year we're going to have even more herb beds around us, more herbs, more signs, more information for people, and hopefully more connection. And what I really love is that people are taking an interest, and that this is my little way of herbs growing into the future and growing into people's hearts and bringing herb healing in a very different way. So as a modern day herbalist to you, I encourage you to connect to the herbs. I encourage you to learn about them. I encourage you to plant them, to get them into community spaces, maybe even start to get herb troughs like this. It's only a small action, but it makes a difference. And for a modern day witch, it's how we do bring that healing back into our communities where it is so needed. Thank you. The gate is open to honour and remember you by. The red thread is strong, and I carry this wisdom forward to future generations.
I am my mother's seventh daughter, the one who runs barefoot casting sharp stones. I am my mother's seventh daughter, I will not cut my hair, I will not lower my voice.
When you live by the sea, not beside it, mind, but by the sea, it fills you up. Every waking moment is tied to the sea, gutting the fish, mending the nets, carrying the menfolk to their boats to keep them dry, checking the creels, baiting the lines, gathering the seaweed, the mussels, watching the wet sand for the popping air from the razor shells. At home, the step must be kept scrubbed clean, the linen washed and woolens darned, the meals prepared, carding wool, spinning the wheel. The harbour, the skin-fast haven, was never quiet. There was always a hum of activity, the crying of the gulls, and the gathering and the gossiping of women. We never stopped working though, even when we were exchanging news, our fingers flying, dexterously knitting from a ball of wool in our apron pocket. Along the harbour wall were wooden benches, but we never sat there. They were the preserve of the old black crows, these ancient widow women wearing their black mourning dresses, shrouded in woolen shawls. They rested their bent backs on the gable end of the terrace of fisher cottages that fronted the beach. When the wind whipped up a fierce storm at sea, the waves would come pawing at these houses, pounding on their windows, battering foundation stones. The white horses breaking with unbridled fury over the top of the pan-tiled roofs, the spray hitting the window panes of the house opposite. The weather-wrinkled, silver-haired fishwives had lost their menfolk at sea, husbands and brothers, fathers and sons. They sat and smoked on white clay pipes, holding them cupped in arthritic claws, always watching the village goings on, the first to know all the secrets. I was brought up believing the harder a woman worked, the better catch she would be as a wife, and that the worst thing that could be said about a woman was that she was hond idle, or she had idle hands. I found out later to my cost that there was one thing worse, one name to be called that would make all men shun me. So even when we women stood together chatting, we were knitting, socks, shawls, hats. The most important item of clothing for a woman to knit, though, was for her menfolk. It was the gamsey. Each jumper was made from good navy wool, but the patterns used were different for each family, handed down through the generations, added to and embellished by each woman. We poured our love, our care, our hopes and dreams into the process, as though the power of protection could pass from our hearts down the needles and into the garment, so that when our boys and men wore them on the boats, they might be saved from the sea. There was a dark, unspoken purpose to the unique designs of the ganses. If a body were to wash up on shore or to be found bobbing on the ocean, their loved ones could identify the Gansi, even if the face was unrecognizable. I alone did not need these tricks. I saw all too plainly when a man died. Some call it a gift, but it has brought me nothing but pain. I didn't ask to have the sight, these sudden shifts of vision to a world of horror, seeing people I knew at the moment of their deaths, when the last gasp met only seawater, or their bodies floating on the surface of the sea like flotsam. Once the vision passes, I awaken and my thoughts turn to the dead man's family, waiting for him to come home. I wish I'd kept quiet and not told a soul. The first time it happened, they looked at me with disbelief. The second time with shock and suspicion. The third occasion was the nail in the coffin, no coming back. The widow women whispered in a huddle and then proclaimed, I was unnatural, a child of a Selkie woman, able to see under the waves. Perhaps I even called up the storm to bring disaster on the village. It's such a cruel gift, the sight. Why could I not have been able to see in advance? Perhaps if I could have warned their menfolk not to fish that day, to have kept them in the haven, skin fast, they wouldn't have turned on me. Even as I sit here waiting for my own death, hearing them shout, witch, from outside, I am transported under the water, and I see a young village lad no more than 16 years of age, beneath the waves, his struggle lost. No need to feel alone, Davy, I say. I will be with you soon enough. I stand at the daylight gate with my wisdom and my knowledge. My red thread is strong.
It started with fire. The flames of my grandparents' coal fire. I can still smell it and hear the crackle as the poker raked the coals. And there I would sit, staring into the firelight until I was completely entranced and my cheeks were ruddy with the heat. What did I see there? As my eyes lost their normal focus, people, places, and feelings came into my new sight. I was 5 years old. Unknown islands, green meadows, ships sailing, the eyes of another staring back at me from the flames. Yes, I see you now, lady of the fishing nets. We are one and the same, you and me, separated by the years. But what are years to us? When linear time, that flimsy construct, breaks down, nothing really separates us except our fears. For it takes courage to gently draw the veil back and glimpse other worlds. It started with fire, but there were other ways to see, other vehicles to get me there. Knowledge carried on the wind from other places. Clouds shaping wisdom in the fast-paced sky of a summer's day as I lay on my back on the grass. I grew up with the stories of the Brahan Seer and True Thomas. These seers were granted their abilities by fairy queens and goddesses of the other world. I understood that that talent to see comes with a price. So too did my grandfather, who chose to read tea leaves no more after seeing one too many deaths of those sitting in front of him. The world may change around us. Candlelight and firelight gives way to electric light. New technologies alter our habits, but the seer's world is eternal. It has only been in the last few years that I have come to terms with what it means to me, the moments when time shifts, the lucid dreams, the intuition, the seeing and the knowing. To be a seer means to open a door to a multiverse, not just the future. It means going for a walk in the woods and receiving messages through the mycelial network, seeing messages in the way the sunlight falls on a tree, or interpreting the world through a crow's caw or a hare's movement in the undergrowth. It is the flight of geese spied from your back door on an autumn evening, or the information relayed to you by the dawn chorus in early summer. A seer is open to every living being and is willing to connect to all forms of life. In the past, we have been derided, despised, punished, and killed. And now, today, perhaps the world with all its difficulties needs the seer more than ever. So, these words are for my daughter, for all the daughters. For I know that the modern world and the way we must navigate through it can be hard. I see the sight in my daughter, and already the world is pulling at her, urging her to conform, to dampen down her gifts. But she is strong. The daughters are strong. The blessing of the seer go with them. This is for the daydreamers, the night dream dancers, the ones who can see dragons flying down from the mountains, the ones who will see more than they sometimes may wish to see. To the seer, past and yet still present in me, I open the gate to honor and remember you. My red thread is strong, and I will take this wisdom to new generations. My mother's child is a savage. She looks for her omens in the colors of stones, in the faces of cats, in the falling of feathers, in the dancing of fire, in the carve of old bones.
I am the crown of the past, the wise old woman, she who teaches singing, the stories, the spindle. As a midwife, I am everywhere in emergency situation when a new being is born. In the secret of my fire, I prepare herbs, decoction, help birth diseases, sickness and fears. As the shaman women of all over the world, I prepare amulets and spells to make the undecided fall in love and healing broken hearts. Around the spindle in embroidery weave, I tell life stories. I am the diviner, the fortune teller. I predict the future in the darkness. My ability to heal is proportional to your faith. I can transmit my power in the conscious acceptance of the loneliness it will bring. Because my gifts are secret, I live in darkness and loneliness. My enemies are everywhere and hunting me. I am the wisdom gained during the journey, and I want to pass it on to you to continue our lineage. We are everywhere, in all little villages in the world. We are shaman or just grandmothers in love with our little children. We like to tell them stories to help them grow, knowing the sacredness of life in all its forms. And they love to hear our stories during the night around the fire. Once I was telling the story of the spirit of the nettle, and one child asked me how I knew all those spirits and if I could speak with the plants. I answered that when we are spirit, we are all one with each other, and so we are able to talk with spirit of the plants through our feelings and minds if we have open hearts. This child grew practicing the art of talking with spirit of the plant and became a great healer. This is such an important rule to me. This is only one of our gifts to the world. That's why we have to preserve our lineage with our crowns of the past. I stand at the daylight of gate with my wisdom and knowledge. My red thread is strong.
And I, crown of the present, I reclaim that power, that knowledge that you kept at the cost of your life, that made you highly loved and highly feared. In my blood run your blood. The ancestral lineage is not broken, and your wisdom is still rooted into my bones. I honor your sacrifice, and I bless our red thread that make us united as an umbilical cord. I remember a woman. She was so kind and sweet, and always ready to help, listen, and create magic. She was a healer, a wise woman of the past, we can say, even if she had God on her lips. She was knowledgeable with all the herbs. She healed so many young women of the village. She helped them to get pregnant. She created potions and brews under the curious gaze of her children. She mixed and mingled so many plants, herbs, and roots with her naughty but gentle hands. But she was almost illiterate, so she couldn't write, and her children, become adults, never shown a real interest of her capacities and gifts. So her wisdom got lost with her when she died. That woman was my grandmother, and I'm her spiritual and magical heir. With great grief, I'm realizing how much of that wisdom is now getting lost year by year. People, mostly in the big cities, are no more curious of this natural knowledge, and so many of that lovely crowns
are now living only in spirit. We should never take the presence of the crones in our lives for granted. They are precious, precious legacies of the past, treasures chests of love, care, and service. All that knowledge, all that experience is so incredibly precious. It could save lives, and this must not be lost. So now it's only up to me. It's only up to us. I want to fight to preserve such wealth because it's in the soil of the past that we can take the nourishment to pass it on to the future. So I will do my part. And I open the gate to honor and remember you, Crow. My red thread is strong, and I will take this wisdom to new generations. So mote it be. Blessed be. I am my mother's savage daughters, the one who run bare, cursing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter, I will not cut my hair, I will not lower my voice. Blessed be.
Croiso, welcome. The aspect of the midwife. Hi, you won't believe it. You won't believe it. I can't believe it too. I have to flee this village. This is the third village I've had to flee. And the villagers, I help them so, but it just happened again, and it was not in my control. The mother that I was just helping to give birth, I lost her heartbeat. She was pushing so hard. And then her screaming stopped, and I checked her heartbeat, and she was gone. So I checked the heartbeat of the baby. The baby was still there. So I had to use my dagger. I had to use my knowledge. I had to slice her belly open. And I had to free this baby out of the belly, out of the womb. And I tried to get it to breathe. I even tried a little mouth to mouth. And it just didn't work. And it's my responsibility. It's on me. I know it wasn't my fault, but the church will need me to tell them. And the baby and the mother. I had to give them their rights. I had to baptize the baby, that soul. And I had to put to death and bless that mother in a holy way. But I so don't believe in the church and all these things. If I go and tell them, they're going to hang me. They're going to burn me. I can't tell them, so I have to flee. I'm sorry. I can't talk much longer. I got to pack up my stuff. And good thing I don't have any children, or I'm not married, because I can't seem to keep together. Because just because I'm a midwife, I am accused of witchery. You know, they even accuse me of stealing the umbilical cords and the placentas. What would I do with that? They accuse me of selling them to witches. I don't know any witches that would want these things. Anything that goes wrong It's always on me. And I have to report to the church. I have to report to the church if there is an unwed mother with a baby. I have to draw the truth out of that mother to find out who the father is. I'm the one that has to go to the father and get their support. I'm the one that has to report to the church an unwed baby. You know, my neighbor, her daughter was raped and she got pregnant from this. And of course they came to me. I know about the herbs. It's not magic. It's nature's gift. This girl was not ready and was not in love. And I helped. I couldn't help it. It was my duty. I had to help. I had to help. Good thing nobody told, but I was always fearful. And of course they come to me when they don't want their babies, and what am I supposed to do? So I'm doing this. I'm helping people. I'm helping women. I'm helping them, but at my risk. And here I have to freaking flee again. All the complications are on me. And all I want to do is help. I want to help. I even get accused of the devil's work. My goodness. My mom was a herbalist, and all I'm doing is passing on the knowledge, and all I want to do is help. All I want to do is help. Well, I'm going to miss this village. I really am going to miss all the people and all the babes that made it here, and God bless those souls that just passed. But I gotta go. I gotta go before this soul passes. I gotta go. So sorry. Please help me. Goddess, help me. They're stripping women of our power. It must stop. I stand at the daylight gate with my wisdom and my knowledge. My red thread is strong. So help me. So help you. Blessed be.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Zana, and I'm a priestess of Cerridwen, and I've been asked this evening to come and talk to you about the modern day, the present doula, the modern day folk worker. I am a birth doula, a hypnobirthing teacher, infant loss support worker, a baby wearing consultant, and so many other things. And I'd like to take this time here in sacred ceremony to talk to you about the reincarnation of the pre-modern midwife, sometimes also known as the good wife or folk worker or laywoman. This evening, we've already seen one of our sisters' offerings just now, the perspective of the persecuted midwife from 200, 300, 400 years ago. And tonight I'm going to talk to you about how this role has reincarnated into the role that we see today. To our ancestors, witchcraft was not usually seen as an empowering, universal spiritual tool that it really is. Rather, it was a practice falsely associated with Satanism, heresy, and dissent. As such, midwives and good wives, in fact, any female lay healer, was seen to be suspect and ideal candidates for false accusations of black magic. In part, this was because they were capable, independent women and also profitable in their practice, often ousting local male trained doctors from their trade. As local women did not want a middle-class male doctor tending and often, unfortunately, brutalizing them in the process of childbirth. No, they wanted a local community elder, sister or matriarch to deliver their baby and offer postnatal care. Here in England, Goodwives was still in working operation all the way up until the birth of our truly wonderful National Health Service in 1948. In fact, here in Lancashire, some older community members can remember their own grandmothers filling the roles, which now often cross over into what we would now divide into independent roles, such as midwife, death doula, and even to some extent, social worker, aiding women who were perhaps struggling with domestic violence or neighbourly disputes. As more and more women began to turn to the NHS and its maternity and obstetric-led units in the 1950s onwards, the role of the folk witch goodwife began to naturally wane. Everything has its time, including roles and positions within folkways, and this is to be embraced as a conclusion of a natural cycle. However, with all wisecraft, the archetype of village goodwife did not die completely. No, she reincarnated from the ashes and in the 1970s re-emerged as the role that we would now commonly refer to and recognise as the birth doula. You see, as fantastic as modern Western medicine is, it focuses solely on the medicalisation of birth to control it and to monitor it. And often in times past, this also included the isolation and exclusion of the role of father and birth partner. Well-meaning Western medicine was also applying a lot of unnecessary medical interventions, as well as actively not allowing husbands, dads, or any other birth partner into the room. This inadvertently caused a cascade of what we would now call birth trauma and postnatal depression. In fact, as late as 1986, dads were still actively encouraged not to be in the birth room with their wives and partners at some hospital trusts. I was born in 1986, and apparently my mother had to really demand that her husband, my dad, was allowed to be present. And I think that's quite a sobering thought for all of us, that within our own lifetimes, we were having to fight for our birthrights. The rebirth of the goodwife, or doula, saw a much needed gap to be filled within modern obstetrics. That of emotional support that seeks to not oust Western medicine, but to complement it and support it, to ease some of the pressures, not just on parents, but on overworked NHS staff too. Doulas are not medically trained. We no longer deliver babies like our goodwife ancestors did. Instead, we step back and let medical professionals take that role. As doulas, we provide women and birthing people with much needed emotional support that they need. Advocacy, a voice when they need one, backup when they feel scared or anxious, information on birthrights to claim the birth that they want. We hold our clients' hands. We soothe her brow when she surges and that causes to sweat. We sway with her in the rhythmic dance of labour. Where our individual training allows, we teach mothers the skills of hypnobirthing, baby wearing, postpartum care, safe sleep practice for baby, breastfeeding support, and more. Where appropriate, we may even bathe her in other wise folk skills such as aromatherapy, reflexology, Reiki. The truth is, today's modern doula takes many forms. She comes from many cultural backgrounds and ethnicities, but one red cord of commonality continues for each of us. She is always a wise woman, even if she does not personally identify with the term witch, though certainly many of us do. She always has one foot in spirit and one foot in the physical world. She has hands that offer support, nurturing, and care. And she's skilled in many of the arts that her ancestral wise women or lay healer also had. The truth is, no matter the political climate, or whether witchcraft is accepted or actively persecuted, witchcraft and wise folk skills always survive, because it's an eternal spirit of magic, capable of multiple reincarnations. And this is just one of the many examples of how wise skills survive and evolve. I now open the gate to honour and remember you. My red thread is strong, and I will take the wisdom to new generations. Blessed be.
My mother's child dances in darkness. She sings heathen songs by the light of the moon, and watches the stars and renames the planets, and dreams she can reach them with a song and a broom.
I call in the aspect of the independent woman of means of the past. It's such fun at the village today. I can't believe it. All the apple pies I made sold straight away. And the blackberry jam, the minute I pulled those jars out of my basket, they went. Women just love them. And then the goat's cheese and rosemary, I was a bit worried about that recipe, but it tasted so delicious. I was hoping that everyone else would like it. And they did. All the truffles went. I thought I'd gone a bit overboard. I was surprised that everyone wanted them. It was lovely. So now I just have plenty of coins to buy that large pot I saw so that I can replace the one that's cracked. Oh, so looking forward to making that big pot of vegetable stew. I've got all my herbs are flourishing at the moment in the garden, so it should be just wonderful. Oh, I'll have some myself, and then I think I'll take the rest of it to the church picnic next week. That'll be nice. Yeah. Oh, the church picnic. I love the church picnic. Except for that someone who then turns her attention on me. Why is a woman living on her own outside the village? Aren't I afraid? Aren't I scared? Who will protect me? Who will look after the garden? Who will look after the yard? Who will do the repairs around the house? Goodness me. I don't know. I mean, I like living on my own. I've lived on my own for years now, since my parents passed. I mean, this was their place. I love it. Why would I want to move? And I love doing all of the work myself. I get to work in the garden. I mean, my fruit and vegetable garden is just so abundant. I mean, you know, plenty to go around. And then my goats. Oh, I love my goats so much. They're so beautiful. And they are so generous in giving me milk and the cheese that I could make from that, and the butter. And then my chooks, crazy little things they are, just love all the eggs that I get from them. I mean, what more could I want? And then, I mean, at the back of the yard, I've got the stream that flows through, the trees line the stream. It's just wonderful, you know. There's plenty of fresh water for the animals, for the garden, and for me. And then all of those trees, I just love looking at them and sitting by and then just listening to all the bird song while I'm working in the garden. I feel my life is perfect. What more could I want? But who will protect me? What do I need protection from? I mean, I live on my own. I live a quiet life. I go to the market once a week to sell my products. I go to church. I go to the church picnic. I mean, I mainly go to church so that I can get some of that lamandra grass because it's beautiful for weaving. But, you know, we need to do what we do. So I guess, you know, I'll just keep on keeping on and just putting a smile on my face when she says, "Who will protect you?" I don't need protection. I don't need to be married. I don't need a husband. But why don't you want to be married and have children? I just don't. I'm happy how I am. I look after myself how I am. However, that's that. So yeah, I guess that's how it is. I'll just keep putting a smile on my face. Oh, and what about today? Wow, I heard the women in the village, they were talking about that there's a witch amongst us. I wonder who it is. I wonder who it is. I stand at the daylight gate with knowledge and wisdom. My red thread is strong. That's the bed.
I open the gate to honour and to remember you. My red thread is strong, and I will take this wisdom to new generations. Sister, brother. I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about you, you who came before, who paid the price of being other, the price of the fear folk had of anything or anyone slightly different, and that fear has never really gone away, has it? I know I'm really lucky. I have the privilege of being an independent woman. I know from the work of so many before me. You fought for these privileges of mine, and I honour you. I drive, and it wasn't until 2018 in Saudi Arabia that my sisters there were allowed to drive. I don't need a chaperone. And in Afghanistan, even today, women are banned from travelling more than 48 miles without a male guardian. And those guardianship rules now mean they need a man with them to go to the doctor or even to get in a taxi. I come home to a house of my own without fear that without a man to protect me, I could be murdered for my property. And today, widows in Zimbabwe are routinely evicted from their homes and their land, and their property stolen by in-laws when their husband dies. No one has ever questioned my right to have children or not. My body is my own, unlike some of our sisters in the US. And when I recently went to a witchcraft exhibition, nobody questioned my spirituality. And yet today, alleged witches are stoned to death in Malawi. In Kenya, they're lynched. They're set ablaze in parts of the world, including in Nigeria. They're banished to death camps in Ghana. Alleged witches are male and female, women, children, and the elderly, people with disabilities. And I am educated. The Western world was outraged when the Taliban shot 15-year-old Malala Yousafzai in the head for pursuing her right to learn. In Pakistan, actually, more than half of the girls are not educated. I'm blessed to work full-time and be healthy to work full-time, but in most countries around the world, some jobs are by law reserved for men only and forbidden for women. And this year, 2022, there are 104 countries around the world that restrict a woman's right to work. I can wear what I like. T-shirt and jeans. Nika Shakarami was 16 when she burned a headscarf at a Tehran protest in Iran. She was last seen this year in September, the 20th, being followed by security services, and the government claims she fell from a building. Finally, no one questions my sexuality or gender, even though transphobia has risen in the UK and our score for the rights of LGBTQ plus folk in the UK has dropped from 10th to 14th. Something to keep an eye on. But this week I got an email and it was a true story about a girl, Kavinga. She lives in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and she was born into a family of 5 girls and assigned as a male at birth, but she knew she was a woman. When her father found out, he tried to force her to marry a woman she'd never met, and she fled. She ended up settling down in a town where she met another small group of trans women, but they weren't safe for long. And this is what she says. Because we were different, some people in the community accused us of being witches. They said we were poisoning their fields, and they called for us to be burned at the stake. The town's chief proposed to punish us with a life of forced servitude instead, and faced with the choice of death or servitude, we ran away. And now a local organisation called Rainbow Sunrise Mapambazuko is partnering with the charity All Out to raise funds to get us to safety. It still goes on. The torment still goes on for other women. We are blessed, we are so lucky, and let us never forget that. We rise on the shoulders of the women and men who fought for the rights for us. We can't change the world, we can't change everything. But sisters and brothers, we have these red threads of love that unite us. The thread is small, but when we plait it with each other's threads, we become strong and immovable. It's time to join the threads and remove the threats. May your light shine. May my light brighten your light and protect you. We are the ancestors of the future. May you be safe. May you be well. May you be loved. May you be strong.
I am my mother's savage daughter, the one who runs barefoot causing sharp stones. I am my mother's savage daughter. I will not get my head, I will not lower my voice.
I call in the ancestors of my past, my protectors. Some call us witches, some call us druids. The time has come that we need to make our family safe, our brothers, our sisters. We need them safe from persecution. We, the chosen few, have stepped up to become warriors. We hide in the shadows and create a circle of protection around our sisters, our brothers, while they perform their sacred acts. For too long, our wives, our daughters, our sons have been taken and executed. No longer, we, the chosen few, will stand by as peacekeepers and protect those we love. I call in my modern day warrior. Today my role has changed slightly. I am still a protector, but I serve my country. Times have changed, but we still have persecution, but not in the depths of what we had in that past, as my ancestors suffered. Today my role as a peacekeeper worldwide. I travel for protecting those that need protecting, giving freedom to those that need their voice, giving freedom to those that wish to worship other aspects. Today, I am known as a soldier. Some call me a peacekeeper or a warrior. I stand at the daylight gate with my wisdom and knowledge. My red thread is strong. I open the gate to honor and remember you. My red thread is strong. I will take this wisdom to new generations.
We are a road for out of darkness into this world full of pain, and leaving our bones, the old songs are waking. We sing that we're voices of thunder and rain. We are our mother's savage daughters, the ones who run barefoot, casting sharp stones. We are mother's savage daughters, we will not cut our hair. We will not lower our voice.
This evening, I would like
Sacred Raven speaks and brings the news from the mother to her children. Do not worry, do not fear, for the time of healing is now. Let go into my cauldron all the pain and suffering of lives gone by. Bring the healing magic of sacred raven medicine to heal the pain within. It's time now, daughters and sons, to stand on lands afresh, to release all pain and suffering into the cauldron of my brew. Spin and stir, until the painful cellar memories are no more. Then stand fearlessly, my daughters and sons, as my mystics and healers unhear my lands. Give honor and thanks to those who lost their lives, as they were the gifted ones of my lands. They return to me to heal their pain, so they may be free and at peace. It's your time, daughters and sons, to shine your lights once more. Be free, be bold, and always love the very essence of who you are. Mother Cerridwen, by Miriam Shekina, Cerridwen's sacred raven, priestess of Cerridwen.
It is me, yeah.
And now we have Sana with a poem to finish the evening.
Hello everyone. Before I start my poem called Lament of a Pendle Witch, I'm going to do two things. And the first is I'm actually going to turn off my camera as a symbolic reference to all of the persecuted men and women who have lost their faces throughout history, and all we have left now are their names, if we're lucky, in history books and court records. And secondly, I'm going to ask that you all close your eyes as we listen to this poem that I wrote last year. It's in part written by me, but also in part I feel channeled directly from the spirit of the land and those who were persecuted in Pendle. And I hope that as I read this evening, that their spirit will speak through and they will be heard again. I have sat and I have listened to the trees whose leaves whisper gently in the breeze, to the creaking of branches and hum of energy that flows with ease from earth channels into roots, through branches and then out into the air. I have silently walked through woodlands and forests, taking nothing and only observing, past Goblin Lair and Fairy Fort, between Boggart Lair and Skriker's Nest, keeping track of my feet, my effort to ensure I do not misstep into Fairy Ring or step too close to their dances and japes. I have felt the hairs on the nape of my neck stand on end when mysterious and otherworldly singing floated on the wind. And when I returned home, I have kept my secrets in my heart and never boasted of who I have encountered or what I have been part. And I have been part of midnight circles, my voice one of many to carry on the air, to soar into flight and carry our will to mystical planes of existence. Our words, they have power to maim or to heal. Whatever we feel, we bring into existence by birthing our will through ritual. We are witches, the rebels and resistants, the anarchists and lovers, puppet makers, dream breakers, societal shakers, the takers and the sharers of power that hide in the earth, in the trees and the wind, and the embers that dance wildly in the hearth. I have danced and jumped the broom. I have made love under moonlight and felt my womb grow from that love. I have birthed children whose souls feel as though they come from the heavens above, and in whose faces I see at least 10 ancestors who came before them. I have spoken softened words to the dying, held their hands and cleaned their bodies for the grave. I have cured herds of cattle who worried the farmer, and yet to find my payment in return was to be subjected to the gossip, the prattle of farmers' wives at market. This is what they gave me in return. I have stood atop of Pendle Hill and whispered prayers to the wind. Some may pray in church, the ones who listen to the priest who waggles his tongue about sin. But I pray to the ground beneath my feet, to the stars in the sky, to the fleets of crows that swoop and dive, and to the jackdaw who chatters and jibes. I have stitched and I have mended, from torn skin to the hems of dresses and shirts. I have listened to other people's hurts and offered them my comfort from my ears, my heart and my arms. For years I have studied and collected all manner of herbs to curb illness or soothe restless sleepers. But now, here I sit in a cold, damp jail at His Majesty's pleasure. Pleasure, what a treasure of a word that's so subjective to the one who feels it. Am I evil? Am I what they say I am? Is the politics that place me in this cold, dark cell worth all this upheaval? Will I ever see the sun again? Will I see Pendle, the forest, the dells, or feel the rain gently kiss my skin again? Shall I ever see the moor again? That sleek, expansive place of heather and gorse, where the sheep lazily graze and wild horses run free. If I could, I would flee. I would run free and take the form of a hare. I would sit beneath the moon and stare up at her beauty. But these irons are tight, and I won't win this fight. I know my fate and the price I shall pay for the ignorance and hate of others. Did you know hate was magic? Oh yes, hate is a curse. Ironic, isn't it, that the ones who hate and imprison me are the worst sinners of all? Yes, hate is a curse, and it will carry me off to hangman's noose and thrown in a hearse. But where hate is a curse, love is a blessing. Love is the best magic of all. So practice it well. Let it swell in your heart and spread like pollen floating on the breeze. I have seen and I have heard. I have listened and I have felt. I have practiced and I have loved. I am a witch and shall always be. Blessed be.
Thank you, Dark Mother, for holding us in your earth, gave us our first and last breath, gave us a blood lineage and made us passionate to live and die in your name. Thank you, Cerridwen. This circle is open, but unbroken. May the love of the Dark Mother be forever in your heart. Merry meet and merry part and merry meet again. Blessed be.
Diolch yn fawr. Thank you to you all for standing in circle with us tonight. Thank you for sharing in this weaving, in this remembering, honouring, reclaiming. We stand hand in hand, heart to heart, and soul to soul. Blessed be.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Many blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was fabulous.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye, everybody, beloveds. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Bye.